Welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes and challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And today I'm delighted that we have with us Tim Spakouskas, who's director at Yorkshire Heart. So, Tim, firstly, thank you so much for spending some time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Yorkshire Heart, the wonderful products and services that you have, and how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yep. Hello. Thank you for having me, Chris. As
Very well.
Chris said, my name's Tim Spakouskas. I'm the director of Yorkshire, one of the directors of Yorkshire Heart Vineyard and Brewery, based in Nun Monkton, just between York and Harrogate. Along with my parents, Chris and Gillian, who are the other directors, and my wife Georgina, and my son Henry, who works in the business now.
Brilliant.
We run, develop, and grow and expand and try and do what we can at Yorkshire Heart Vineyard and Brewery. So predominantly we are a vineyard and brewery. We started planting the vines back in 2006. We planted 1 acre, then built it up over the years, bit by bit, an acre or two at a time. We've now got 16 acres of vines in the ground growing. We've plans to plant 4 more acres this coming spring in May 2025. We'll be planting 4 more acres, about another 4,500 vines, which will take us up to about 30,000 vines in the ground. We grow red and white grapes to make red wine, white wine, rosé wine. They're still wines. We also make sparkling wines, red, white, and rosé sparkling wines. We have about 15 wines in our range at the moment. So we cover quite a lot of bases,
Yeah.
quite a lot of tastes for people to come and try and enjoy and come and visit the vineyard. Back in 2011, we added the brewery to the vineyard. That's when I joined the business full time to set up and establish and run Yorkshire Heart Brewery. For the first few years, pretty much did it all myself with the help of my parents. We did it all myself, all the brewing, all the selling, all the delivering. We've now got a good team in the brewery. We've got a great head brewer with years of experience, Nick Webster. He does him and Ryan do all our brewing for us. We've got Jason out in the van delivering. We've got Emma who works in the office with me, office admin and sales and things. And yeah, so we have a great team here at Yorkshire Heart. We're a small team, and everyone gets involved and there's a bit of everything. We have down the vineyard, it's my parents. At the vineyard, we also have a cafe and shop, which Gillian, my mum, runs the cafe along with she has Elena who works in the cafe with her. Then Chris, my dad Chris, my wife Georgina, my son Henry all work in the vineyard, tending to the vines 365 days a year, pruning, training, spraying, cutting grass, doing whatever needs to be done to make sure come October we have a crop of grapes that we can pick and harvest and make into award-winning wine grown right here in Yorkshire. So that's just a brief sort of intro of what we do here. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing, and it's just great. I said before we started, we're literally sort of about, I would guess, about eight to 10 miles away from where you are right now. And I mean, how did the idea come about? Of how did you guys work out that growing vines in Yorkshire was a thing? I guess is for starters.
It's always been home winemaking was always my mum's hobby. She's been doing it for 40 odd years now. Just make a bit of homemade wine here and there. And the more she got into it, the more she read, the more she looked up about it. And she read one day to make wine called wine has to be made from grapes. Otherwise, you have to have that prefix of elderflower wine,
Okay.
gooseberry wine, whatever else. So just to make it just says wine on the label. It's made
Yeah.
from grapes. Sure, to make some of this proper wine, if you like, you can't make wine from dessert grapes you get in the greengrocers or supermarkets.
Right.
You can make something from it. You can press them, get the juice out of them, but there's no flavour. There's lots of sweetness, which is sugar,
Yeah.
which is what you want in a nice dessert grape.
Yes.
The sugar just makes alcohol. It doesn't give any flavour. And
Yeah.
so winemaking grapes have got quite a high level of acidity in there. So the acidity is where the flavour comes from. So say if you get a nice glass of a crisp, dry white wine, you get that nice sort of crisp, dry feeling in your mouth and taste buds. That's the acidity in the grapes. So to get wine making grapes, back in the late 90s, my mum wanted to make some of this wine. So my dad set to and rang round. He got a list of vineyards off the internet. There was one in Yorkshire, Leventhorpe Vineyard near Leeds. He's been there about 40 years now as George. So he rang
Wow.
George first, and George said, like we say to people now, but he's an out and out Yorkshireman, is George. my dad rang him up and said, "Can I buy some grapes off you to make some wine?" He went, "No, lad, I'm not a greengrocer." So yeah. So he said, "Yeah, like we do now. Everything we grow, we turn into wine. We don't sell. We don't sell our grapes. We just make everything we get, we make into wine." So my dad rang and rang and rang. He ended up ringing vineyards all over the country trying to find some grapes. Eventually, found a vineyard down near Brighton that would sell a ton of grapes.
Right.
Not a few kilos, a ton. It wasn't very practical to get a ton of grapes back home and try and put it through my mum's little press that took about a kilo of grapes at a time. So we came up with the idea. My mum came up with the idea of planting some vines in the back garden. We lived at Greenhammerton. She planted 35 vines in the back garden in 2000. Pruned them, trained them, and grew them for 3 years. That's what you have to do to get the vine established. And then got some grapes, made some wine, and fell in love with the idea. So it just went from there, really. So
Absolutely.
a very small hobby turned into
wonderful. It's great. I mean, it's great to that you've got a business that's come out of a hobby and it's a family business. Great. What a very fantastic combination. But if we look at you specifically, Tim, sorry. Could you tell me a little bit more about your background? Unclear how you got into the business, but what is it about this that you love so much?
I had no idea when I was 16, 17 years old, leaving school, leaving college at 18, that I wanted to be a vineyard. I'd never heard of vineyards at that age, to be honest with you. Well, probably had, but never knew they were in England or anything like that. Never mind Yorkshire. And all I wanted to do when I was leaving school and college, I went to Aston Agricultural College to study agriculture because I worked at home on the family farm. It was my uncles who owned the farm. And all I wanted to do was leave school and work on the farm, milking cows, do whatever I needed doing. And I did. And I went to college and studied agriculture at Aston. Left college, started working on the farm full time with my uncles and my cousins, and soon realised that as much as I did love it, and if it was my family farm, I'd still be doing it now. But if I carried on doing what I was doing there, I'd only be a farm worker all my life. I wouldn't be, and I wouldn't, and it was great. And there's plenty of farm work, and everyone, farms need workers, farms need staff.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't where I saw myself going. Various other things. My parents at the time had milk rounds in York. They had milk rounds in York for 30 odd years. So I went to work with my parents on the milk rounds for a few years until I settled down and got married. And then my wife and I set up our own gardening business. My wife was a gardener. Georgina was a gardener. She did horticulture at Aston. So we set up our own gardening business, going out landscaping, maintaining, doing whatever. We did that for a number of years until I joined. We set the brewery up originally, and I was doing it part-time. Me and my dad did it part-time between doing our other jobs and setting the brewery up part-time. We did that for a year. And after a year, we decided that I would give up my job and my business. Georgina carried it on for a little while, but I would give up working for myself in the gardening business and go and set up and establish the brewery. So that's what we did. Georgina carried on with the gardening for a few years until the vineyard got big enough and established that she could give up the gardening job to come and work in the vineyard. So it all sort of tied in nicely that we all work together and get on like families do, get on most of the time.
There is a different dynamic there, isn't there? I've worked with a few family businesses, and it's a very interesting dynamic. But it does sound like you've got, it's throughout the family, quite an entrepreneurial spark there across all of you.
Yeah. I mean, it comes back as far as I can remember. Like my granddad on the mum's side, he was originally a tenant farmer. He managed to save up the money. Him and my grandma, they saved the money up to be able to then buy the first farm. That was over at Skipton, a hill farm over near Skipton, near Connolly. And as their family grew and developed, they needed more room, so they bought a second farm just down the road. And then there's my three uncles, and they all had sons. And they realised that the farm at Skipton they had wasn't big enough. They all stayed together farming. It wasn't big enough for them to stay together.
Yes.
So they started looking for other farms for sale, and they came across the estate at Nun Monkton, where we are now, and set to and bought that. So, and then from that would have been the early 90s, maybe 1990, 1991 when that all happened, and we all moved. Well, we lived away from the farm at the time, but lock, stock, and barrel, the whole family moved from Connolly.
Right.
over to Nun Monkton, and they still all farm. Well, the majority still farm together now. My uncles and my nephews and my cousins all work together still on the farm. They have different sections of the farm they all run and operate, but
Right.
yeah, they all work together still, and it's and we're yeah we first of all, the first bit of land we rented from my uncle to plant the vineyard originally, but by about 2010 we got the option to buy the 7-acre vineyard we planted first and the 30 acres next to it. So we jumped at the chance to do that, and now we own. That's how our little small holding in our vineyard. We own sort of 37 acres of land. About half it's, well, say by spring we'll have 20 acres of it planted to vines, and we will plant some more in the coming years. Try to keep growing, keep expanding, keep developing. There's a big boom around English wine at the moment, and people love the vineyard. So it's just great, great that we can keep doing what we enjoy doing it as well. That's the main thing. We all enjoy coming to work in the morning. It's not a hassle. It's not a chore.
Absolutely brilliant. And over that period of time, what are some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome?
Growing grapes in Yorkshire.
Yeah, fair dues.
the Yorkshire climate. No, it's we grow. We do say we joke about that, and people do ask if it's down to global warming why we're growing grapes in Yorkshire. No, it's not. It's not. We were thinking, we were planning, and we were growing vines before the big thing about climate change and global warming became a big thing. So we would be doing it anyway. It's down to the work they've done in the nurseries over the years, developing these vines and the rootstocks. We grow all our vines on a certain rootstock that's designed to grow and work in a cooler, wetter climate. We grew our vines on rootstocks that were designed to work in the south of France. They just wouldn't grow. So we grow on a rootstock that's designed to work in a cooler, wetter climate. We grow vines that are designed to grow in cooler climate. All our vines come from nurseries in Luxembourg and northern Germany. So a similar climate. Come over. We plant them in spring as the ground starts to warm up, and they get growing, and off we go. So it's always a challenge. Because we don't know what the weather's going to do. Even if you check the forecast, check week by week, long range. You don't know what's going to happen. The last 2 or 3 winters have been so wet, and a lot of rain last 2 or 3 winters and springs. So hopefully this year we're just hoping for a nice dry spring and a really good growing year this year. That's the biggest challenge really is what the weather's going to throw at us. So but you can't do anything about it. Get on and get on with it really. So
absolutely, this is part of running a business, isn't it? I was told many years ago by the CEO of my organisation, and he said, Chris, the job of a business owner is to solve problems. That's our job. So, if you don't like problems, probably business isn't for you. And it's a really good point. And that's our job, isn't it? Obviously, there's a day job of running things, but problems happen. And I've actually come to believe in many ways that problems are caused by growth. As we grow, things tend to stretch and strain a little bit. And so I often find if we don't have problems, we're probably not growing as fast as we probably could. So they're actually a good thing.
Totally.
Although they don't feel like it. They don't feel like it at the time. It's not really a good thing to tell somebody at the point of they've got a problem. But I think it's a true thing is that that it will happen, and I think becoming comfortable with that environment is a mark of a good business owner or leader. And thinking about growing the business, what are the big business learnings you've had about growing the business?
It's just when we first started planting the vines, and like I say, we're 3 or 4 years from planting a vine to getting any fruit off it, because they will produce fruit in the first year, but we like to get the vines established, get a good strong plant before we start taking fruit off them, to try and aid the longevity of the plant. Hopefully it'll last a good number of years. It's a big investment before we see any return.
Yes.
And then we don't really know. At the time when we first started doing it, we didn't really know if we could. Hopefully, we knew from the trial plot in the garden, we knew we could produce wine, and we enjoyed it. We liked it, and we took it to 1 or 2 other vineyards and local area meetings, and people said it had potential to be a good wine. So yeah, that's always a big sort of problem. When we first had a big challenge was, could we produce something that was going to be drinkable and enjoyed by people, and people would want to spend money on, because English wine is quite a premium product. English wine, it's not a cheap product, and it's down to the small scale currently it's produced on. But the bigger we get, the faster. There's more and more vineyards growing, planting. It's the fastest growing agricultural sector currently is viticulture. There's a good number of, especially down south, there's a good number of acres being planted down to vines at the moment. So and then it's growing up north as well. So it's always a challenge. And going back to the brewery side of things, we had this idea that we wanted something to run alongside the vineyard. We realised with the vineyard quite quickly that we had one chance of a harvest. If we had poor growing year, no grapes, no wine. So it's something that could run alongside the vineyard all year round and produce an income, a cash flow, if you like. I made a few ideas, but we quite like the idea of having a brewery. So we set to bought a second-hand brewery kit and set a brewery up. And that was a very steep learning curve, because we just a bit naively thought, well, at one point there's 365 pubs in York, one for every day of the year. The big well-known thing. We thought we could just brew some beer, drive into York, sell it to the pubs in York, drive a lovely little business. We soon realised there's a lot more to it than that. And now, so we have a van, we have a delivery driver. Van goes out 4 or 5 days a week, delivering all around Yorkshire. We sell quite a lot online nowadays, ship out nationwide. We do 1 or 2 wholesalers who take palletfuls at a time and distribute it down south or in the Midlands and stuff. So that was a very steep learning curve with the business, with the brewery side of things. Yeah,
brilliant. And you probably we're a business coaching organisation. I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
In business side, I mean, I've worked with lots of coaches over the years. I've played a lot of sport over the years, from different things, football. I was an international tug of war athlete for a few years.
Wow.
I represented England at tug of war for a few times over the years. Probably one of the best coaches I ever worked with would be in my tug of war world. A fellow called Duncan Kraft, who was an absolutely brilliant coach. I only worked for a short time, but he was brilliant. He's just very motivating and inspiring in his own way. So yeah.
Oh, fabulous! Yeah, absolutely fabulous. And do you have any favourite? Do you find yourself using any favourite quotes or sayings about business or success, or things that you use a lot?
Little daft one that I say probably most days to when we're sat having a cup of tea at break time, and my son, who's 20, he'll be sat there and I'm like, all right, come on, Henry, this ain't getting the cat of goldfish, and so get back to work, come on.
Brilliant.
So it's just something we say. Something we say probably every day. One of us will say to one of us every day, come on, this ain't getting the cat of goldfish, get back to it. So
absolutely brilliant. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's brilliant. And just learning in general, are there any? Do you have any favourite books or presentations on business or success, or personal development that you could recommend?
Oh God, that's top of my head. No, I don't. Sorry.
It's all good.
No. No, I've read one or two. I can't remember. I've got one top of my back of my mind. I can't think what it is now that I read and really enjoyed. I can't think who wrote it, what it's called now. But it's
all good. Some people have 2 or 3 to mind that are favourites and recommend. Some people don't, and different people.
What I have found, going back to the coaching side of things as well, what I have found in the industry we work in, especially the vineyards. The vineyard and the winemaking world is, there's a lot of help and assistance out there. We're even though it's a big business and growing business, the whole viticulture and winemaking around the country, everyone we've come across at different events all is willing to help and lend a hand. Brilliant. Or give some advice out. We've received endless advice from other vineyard owners over the years, and we're in a position where vineyards who are looking to set up come to see us to ask us how we've done it and what we do and how we do it, which is great when people do that. It's going back to what I said before, when we first started looking to plant the vineyards, there was one vineyard in Yorkshire, Leventhorpe Vineyard.
Yes.
When we first planted our first acre of vines, we were the second vineyard in Yorkshire in 2006. And there's about, I think, about 20 commercial vineyards around Yorkshire. So it's massively growing. And most of the time we all do get on well, and we all there to help each other out with help and advice. And so it's a good, that's a good way where I've found to develop and run our businesses, by talking to other business within the industry to help and support us.
Brilliant. It's really great to hear that happens. And I would say it's a great talking point, actually. I do feel it happens. It does happen across business and industry in general. The challenge is people don't feel fit. What's the right word? Don't feel comfortable asking for help. I think the biggest barrier to it happening is just asking for help. And I found time and time again that if people just ask for help, including the top person in any industry, will still be willing to help if you ask, because most of us are driven to want to help others.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Totally agree with that. Especially in the industry we work in, it's great. It's really good.
Absolutely wonderful. And what would you say, Tim, that you've learned about yourself throughout your journey so far?
I've really grown into the role. I mean, I run the overall business nowadays. I've taken over from my parents the day-to-day running of the business, Yorkshire Heart, the Vineyard Brewery, the events, and the camp. We have a little campsite as well, so I do all that day to day. And it's something I've had to learn. I didn't know. I didn't really know what I was doing when I first started doing it, but I've learnt and grown into the role of how to do it all. And I think embracing technology has been a great thing. I knew how to use a computer, but very basically. Just the help and support out there through integrating different programs to work with each other to take hours and hours of manpower out of day-to-day running of things, whether it's processing online orders, it's done automatically nowadays. Invoices coming in and out through Xero and things like that. It's just integrate it all, and it all just flows nicely, all being well.
Wonderful. So looking forward to that, and what does the future look like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
Like I said, we're planning on planting more. Well, we are planting more vines this spring. Yes. We'll plant maybe another 2 or 3 years time. We'll plant more vines, depending on how things are going. Like I said, my son Henry he's 20 now. He joined the business 2 years ago. He's been just finishing off a 2-year apprenticeship at Plumpton College down near Brighton. Okay. So he's been based at home, work at the vineyard with us in the vineyard, but then gone 1 week every 2 or 3 months in a block week at college, and he's just finishing off his apprenticeship in viticulture. So we've all just learnt by doing it and talking to people and finding out. And Henry's gone and learnt properly. So that's going to be a massive help to us. And the network of friends he's built up while he's been at college. Yes. They're all connected with vineyards all over the country. He's been off visiting quite a few of them over the last couple of years. He's been and visited them over weekends and gone and helped them at harvest time or at pruning time and things like that. So what Henry learns and has already learned, and what he can develop and push on will be massive improvement to how we do things here at the vineyard. We're constantly investing as we make money. We invest it back into the business. We're currently on with building a new winery building. That's halfway through being finished now. That'll be done next couple of months. That'll be finished, and so we got a new. We outgrew our existing winery, so we built a new winery building. Last year, 2024, we invested quite a lot of money into a lot of new winemaking equipment, a brand new press, which was a big investment. We went from a 1.5 ton grape press to a 6 ton grape press. Wow! So that's a big bit of kit. Yeah. Invested quite a bit more money in how we finish our sparkling wine making equipment to just help streamline the process of that a bit. So everything we do, we're always looking to invest back into the business and keep growing it and keep developing and hoping keep improving what we do and how we do it. And,
Wonderful. And I'm keen to know what you say to anyone that was thinking of going into business right now.
I always say to people, go for it.
Brilliant.
I've sort of whether it's people who come to see us about planting a vineyard or setting up a brewery. I always say to people, go for it. You know, if you have an idea and you think you can make it work, go for it. And yeah, it's I have a friend who was in this sort of situation. It must have been before COVID, actually. He was getting made redundant from his job, and he got offered the chance to set himself up doing. It was asset finance is what he does, and he got a chance to set himself up in business and do it himself. And he's only narring and he chatted to a few of his different friends, and I said to him, just do it, just go for it. And then one of our other friends was a bit more the other way, saying, "Oh well, you should maybe get another job and get the security of having a fixed income and this and that's what he did." And he says to me a few times since, "I wish I'd done it. I wish I'd done what he said and set my own business up and gone for it." And he would whether he made it work or not, I don't know. But yeah, it's yeah. If you have an idea and you're motivated to push that idea on and drive yourself forward and drive you whether it's staff or whatever, but just do it and go for it. I think it's
Brilliant.
yeah. I've never so from a family of small business owners, and it's just what we do. So it's
Brilliant. Absolutely love it. I think that's the key thing, is that just get on and do it. We can think about it, we can procrastinate, but just getting it done. And in fact, interestingly enough, I think when I've asked had these interviews before, the number of people, it's not everybody, but it is a reasonable number of people, have said they wish they'd started earlier themselves. You know, they wish they got into business earlier, just because of how much they enjoyed it. And Tim, final question: what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that?
oh yeah, do a clean version or
Any version you choose, my friend, it's all good.
18-year-old me. I mean, I don't really look back and have any regrets on what I've done and how I've done things. But yeah, 18-year-old me, maybe don't spend as much money in town drinking cheap lager every Friday and Saturday night. I don't know. Buy a house sooner. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really have any. I don't look back and think, "I wish I'd done that differently. I wish I'd done that differently." It's just, yeah, I've enjoyed everything I've done in life so far. So yeah, it's maybe knuckle down a bit earlier.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sliding doors question, isn't it? Because if we'd have done anything differently, we wouldn't be here, and if we like where we are, then probably not. You know, so it is.
That's it. Yeah,
it is question. If wonderful. And I will ask one last question actually, because I'm going to do this. I'm going to. What would be, in your recommendation, the best wine to buy from you right now?
Right now, our best wine, I would say, is I'm looking at my shelves over there.
Brilliant. Yeah.
No, our best wine. I mean, our best wine is our sparkling. I would say our sparkling white wine. That's a great wine. We've won some good awards with this year or last year now. Won a couple of gold medals with that. Different wine competitions. One of them was an international wine competition. Won a gold medal with that. So that was great. But I think out of all the wines, I think. Our single varietal Ortega still white wine is my favourite. If I have a glass of white wine, the Ortega single varietal white wine we make is a lovely white wine. That's just how I like white wine. Nice, crisp, dry, fruity wine. So.
Lovely. Well, I will buy a bottle of both each of those and enjoy them over the weekend. So
excellent.
For now, thank you so much. But for anyone that's interested in contacting you or Yorkshire Heart, what's the best way of doing that, Tim?
So we're open. We have a website, yorkshireheart.com. If you look at the website there, you can just pop in. We have a cafe shop at the Vineyard that's open at the moment, Tuesday to Saturday, 9:30 till 4. So you can just pop in and see us at the cafe, the shop, or everything, all the information on the website. Or you can just drop us an email to office@yorkshireheart.com or ring us up on 01423 330 716. And we'll answer any questions that you might have or queries you might want to find out about who we are and what we do and what we can offer.
Brilliant. Well, again, thank you so much for your time today. It's been fascinating and really, really, really enjoyable. And it'd be great to swing by another 6 to 12 months, just see what's the next developments are. But for now, thank you so much.
Definitely. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Great to meet you.
Thank you, and you.